communities their voice, to strengthen their perspective. So that's a problem. And the big issue here is around the consolidation of research and coordination. So while there's a lot going on, I think there is really limited coordination with regards to research that is focusing on building urban resilience from the poor perspective. So we need to do that. I think that's what we've been, the conversation we've been having with BICRAP and UCLG, that how do we begin to create a framework for consolidated research? How do we learn from some of the tools that have been deployed successfully and have been developed with the communities? How do we build integrated tools that really can not only co-create solutions with the communities, but also build confidence in the communities without scattering them? Because what is happening now is that a lot of research is really scattering the community. There's a lot of fatigue within the communities with regards to the research that is subjected to them. Number two is that a lot of research that we see today is more focused on situational analysis. And situational analysis is more about what is happening, who is more vulnerable, who is being in, but they are limited in terms of providing solutions. And perhaps this is the reason why a lot of research that has been done has not found their way into the policy space, simply because for research to reach a policy, there has to be stages. There has to be the research done, there has to be the synthesis, the translation, the engagement with the policy makers, and those engagements have to happen based on tangible solutions. But what we see is that a lot of research really presents the situation. It is good. It's not bad to say, really, so and so is vulnerable. These, women groups or women categories or youths are more vulnerable. It's okay. Yeah, but really, what is next after that? Which is the question, because then if you just present the situational analysis, what we have is a lot of research products, papers that have been published, but they do not offer solutions such as the ones we are looking for within the BICRAP. And finally, to say the least, I think the aspect of funding is a problem. There is really very limited funding for research, and this is, of course, occasioned by the fact that African governments have not invested in research. If you look at, the average investments in research across African member states, you'll realize it's, relatively below 2%. Kenya, I think, is around 1% or below. So what that means is that we have to depend on funding from outside. And funding from outside, based on some of these conversations, have a lot of conditions in terms of what needs to be done. They really are good, they're helpful, but sometimes they really don't help to unpack the situation much more clearly, because a lot of it either remains somewhere supporting expatriates who really define the methodologies that needs to be deployed. So if, for instance, there is a funding of, let's say, $100,000 to do some risk assessment in a place like Mukuru, you will find that about $90,000 remain with the expatriates. Then some 10,000 will be given to a local organization within the informal settlement to do some quick assessments, and then reports and research and journal articles are published. That is not helpful. So I think there is need for, even as we talk about the Africa Climate Summit, that we need to look at ourselves as Africa. What is it that we can do? What are the models that we can profile? How can we ensure that we are able to really develop funding for research, domestic funding mechanisms that will be able to really provide our own internal system before we really profile ourselves to the globe. And that has been a gap, because with that, we only play the tune of others. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Johannes. And I think that brings the connection to all the issues that we have just been hearing from our speakers. And the key challenge, of course, the last part of it, the means of implementation is about finance, technology, And all this then needs to have the convergence in the discussion that we are having. And as we move into the summit declaration, and of course in crafting the roadmap to COP28, then some of these discussions we need to really from here continue the conversation and have clear partnerships that then takes us to the next stages of the implementation. As I come to, because I think time may not be on our side, but then we want to look at from this conversation this afternoon, how are we moving into the summit with this conversation, because it is not ending here. It will end when we are having the discussions at the summit. And allow me to welcome back Dr. Konyango to stage, just to announce some of the next steps in the BICRAF, because drawing from the first statement that was made, that is the encyclopedia of BICRAF. So what are we taking from here to the summit? Back to you.
Okay, two things in the interest of time. One is I want to welcome each one of us, all of us that are in this room. We will be having the launch of the BICRAF initiative, moving from initiative to implementation on the 6th of September during the Africa Climate Summit. This launch will be done by His Excellency, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Dr. William Samoei Ruto. It will be at 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. So it will be launching and call to action that then moves us to COP28. You are all welcome. It will be at Lenana Hall, precisely 8 to 9 a.m. Lenana Hall. Book it within your diary, and we are inviting you. I want to wrap up by saying that all that my colleagues have said will be there. When we look at the population that living in our cities currently, in Kenya alone, 27.8% are youth between the age of 18 and 35. And this is projected to grow to 43 by the year 2030. And therefore, we welcome all the youth to say all that they can, because urban belongs to you, and we need you to define the future of the urban that you want. We are not defining you. When you look at my hair, it has grown white. And so I don't belong there. I am now retiring to the rural, where I belong. The future is yours, urban is yours. Even if I colored my hair, it would not qualify me to live in the urban area. Please come over to this meeting. We would be discussing issues of livelihoods, issues of infrastructure, issues of energy, issues of water and sanitation. We will be discussing issues of raising the adaptive capacity, of the urban poor and our urban areas. We'll be discussing all that in a very, in a nutshell, within that, within the day of the launch. So welcome, and I think, Robert, I want to end it there. Thank you.
Thank you. I've been alerted that our time is up, and so the audience may have wished to have questions, but has been guided. We have another session which will bring this conversation. We have two sessions on BICRAF. The one that the President will be presiding over on the 6th, 8 to 9. But then we have another session on 7th on BICRAF readiness. So we'll have, that time there will be no protocols. So we'll have more time to discuss the rest of the details that the panel has just exposed to the audience here. Otherwise, welcome, and I congratulate all of you for finding time to be with us and bringing this observation that you have just brought on board. Thank you.
So thank you so much to the panel, but before you leave, I'm reminded that we need to take a picture. Dr. Shida, would you like to join us, KGBS board? Yes. We can now proceed to lunch. So just to give you a quick heads up, there'll be 2 sessions in the afternoon right after lunch. So you have about 35 minutes to eat a really quick lunch if you want to grab the tour. So there'll be 2 groups. One group will be going for the Sustainability in Action tour to Tbilisi, where we will get to witness the IFC Regional Edge Champion, that is the Africa Logistics Properties, and we will also witness the 15-minute city concept by Tbilisi developers. So for those of you who want to go for the tour, we're really proud to partner with Classic Go, who will show us green transport in action as we go to see sustainability in action itself. So really quickly, grab your lunch so that you're there by 2:35, and then we depart at 2:40. And the second group, which unfortunately is an exclusive kind of arrangement, will be the deal rooms. So those 2 things will be happening simultaneously. So unfortunately, if you don't have an invite to the deal room, you can't be part of the deal room. So you will have to go to the Sustainability in Action tour, or you can take your time having lunch and unwind. And the plan is to make sure we conclude both the deal room and the tour firmly by 5 to kickstart our last session for the day. So thank you so much for your time. The Secretariat will direct you towards lunch, which is at the tent outside, if I'm right, the terrace, yes. So lunch is at the terrace, so you'll be walking out to your right and then circling back. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you.